New from Go-Go Co. Constipation Action Superman. Watch him strain. Watch him super strain. Also, Derpy Captain America.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. I'm so glad you came along. I don't know the words to that song. Welcome back, my friends, to the song that never ends. Da-da. It's classic rock. It's 70s. I want to say The Who. I don't know, but I do know that it is day 59 of 100 days of making comics. With me, Gazbot, Gazbotian, the Gaz Guardian. I'm Guardian of the Gaz and Gaz of the Guardian. Guardians of the Galaxy. Defenders of the Earth. Dun, 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 dun. Captain Planet and the Planeteers. The power is yours! No, that's not what it is. What's the power is yours? By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet! But yeah, I think you also did say the power is yours. Well, that's it for day 59. No. I suppose I should report on my goings-on and doings. Okay, so today's day 59, and what did I do? Well, I got up, worked on that coloring first page a few hours. I'm almost done with it. I did not realize how long it took me to color, or at least how long it takes me to do these pencils. I mentioned it before, but I worked on it for a while today. It's almost done. I'm going to finish up tomorrow. I have to have it done by tomorrow night, so probably do it in the morning just to make sure I have it done in time. Then after that, I went to the caricature on-site job part 2, which was supposed to be 2.5 hours, but they added another half hour while I was there, so it was 3 hours, which is always good because it's extra money. It was a weird one, though, because it was the different office from the same place I did the last yesterday and once before a few months ago. And in theory, it was the same, except only about half the people, or maybe 2/3 of the people were there. The rest were on the graveyard shift, and so I was given photos to draw them. Which is a little odd because usually if you're going to do photos, I could just do them from home. But I guess, I don't know, maybe they thought they were going to be there and didn't realize. But the photos they gave me were of their like ID badges. And ID badge photos are normally like that big and not, everyone's kind of like, because they're not smiling or like, hey, or, So there are all these neutral faces that are blown up from that big to an 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper, and they're all really dark. So I did my best, but it was like the worst reference. And when the girl gave them to me, I'm like, these are actually kind of dark and blurry. She's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, well, as long as you know. But anyway, they came out fine. The people that were there that might not like them weren't there. The people I did that might not like them weren't there, so that's fine. But it was also weird because like half the people that worked there, English was their second language. And their English wasn't particularly great. And I'm not saying this to insult people, I can't speak a second language, but normally when I'm drawing someone, I'll make a little banter back and forth, and it was sort of a lot of, oh, so have you done this before? They told me to be here. I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I'm going to do the cartoon with the big head. What do you think you want your body to be? I work here, like they weren't even getting what I was saying, and so it was like awkward, and then there was a lot of silence, and then there was a lot of me guessing what to draw their body as, and it just, and most of the people there didn't know I was going to be there. That's the other thing. Like, the company wanted it to be like a surprise, but it didn't seem to be a good surprise. It wasn't like, oh, awesome, I'm getting my character drawn. It's like a bunch of middle-aged dudes that don't really speak English. They're like, I'm here. I don't know why I'm doing this. Oh, you drew me. Okay, thanks, bye. Like, it was weird. A few people liked it, obviously. But it was just, I don't know, it was a weird place to be. One actually cool one I did was a younger guy. And I was saying how I could do anything, and hear me telling the guy in front of him, it could be something realistic, something fake, it could be superhero, or, whatever. And he had me do him as a Unicorn Gundam, which was pretty cool, and he gave me a reference. But while it was cool to do, it was a bummer because I maybe have drawn like 1 or 2 people as a Gundam in like 10 years, and it's just one of those things you don't get very often. And while I'm not a huge Gundam fan specifically, I do like anime and robots and stuff, so it was right up my alley, except it was a bummer because I was also kind of rushing to get these done. As I said, I worked an extra half hour, and that's just because it was taking a while and they had a certain amount of people they wanted to have done. So I couldn't spend the extra time I would normally spend on a picture like that and like make it really super epic. I did a fine job. The other thing is I only have my big fat markers, and I would have liked to get in there with a little detail and stuff. So he liked it enough. He thought it was great and whatever, but I knew that like if I was at another job, this would have been like way better. You missed out, buddy. You missed out. Anyway, got home. When I got home, I worked on catching up on emails and other stuff like that, did all the housework, ate dinner, Had to go to the store, buy a bunch of stuff. That's not interesting. And then I got home and finally had a chance to work on the horror. I put an hour in. Again, it's one of those days where I don't feel like I made a ton of progress, but progress is progress. I put an hour in. The good news is I finished the roughs for page 5. There still might be some noodling when I get into the next phase, but I did all the panels. They're all laid out more or less acceptably. The balloons sort of match up, and tomorrow I'll be working on page 6 roughs. So at least that's like a nice milestone. Okay, done with that, which is just bizarre because the first couple pages was like, I did a whole page today, or I did 2 pages today, and I'm like, it's been 3 days to rough 1 page. Anyway, I'll put up the, what do you call it, process video? Process video.
Welcome back, my friends, to the page that never ends. It's page 5. Layout roughs. Here we go. I was looking at the second to last panel here that I had kind of cleaned up the other day, and I planned on redrawing it, but then I realized if I flipped it and resized it, I could pretty much still use it since I changed the panel before it. So that saved me some work, or rather preserved some work I already did. Fortunately, the final panel, what was 5 is now 6, ended up being enough work to take me almost an hour anyway. It involves perspective and mainly perspective, which is not my forte, and even if I'm doing it correctly, it seems to take forever. And this is something I have trouble with a lot. You could see that I had one vanishing point and was trying to make the 2 buildings meet it, and it didn't work. So then I'm like, well, let me do 2 vanishing points, and I always have trouble. I know you can have multiple vanishing points on a horizon line, but the math of it, I either forget or it escapes me. It's just perspective is so much math. I look forward to the day when I have repeated the process enough that while I still won't understand it, it will sort of become muscle memory and I could kind of just fake it. Because I feel like that's what happens with a lot of people, that they might still kind of vaguely plot it out, but at least the super realistic guys, I guess, or girls, do still plot it out every time, or they make grids and things and have all kinds of mathematical and geometrical helpers. But I guess for what I'm aiming for would be just good enough that I could sort of freehand it and it'll look fine. But if I try to do that now, it doesn't really work. So I'm hoping that if I do enough of the semi-technical version, eventually my eye will just be good enough to make it look okay and serviceable. For my sort of semi-cartoony yet detailed style. My semi-cartoony yet detailed style. An autobiography by Gazbot. So here I am. The Stansport station is sort of like the future subway. And I never actually designed it, but there's some shots I did later on, roughs for, where I decided it was sort of like a big circle. So, very similar to a subway, but just more circular on the inside. So I figured the tube would be cool if it was just like a big circular opening like that, like no door or anything, and then some posts, and it would be a very noticeable thing in the city because it would stand out from the other architecture and be a little bit inviting, a little bit utilitarian. And when I did that, I realized I needed to change the way I had the road going. I also was working on part of the city to the right because I had extended the page wide enough that I could have a long horizon line. And as an unintended consequence, I started doing drawing I didn't need to do, so I erased that. Went ahead and put in, and I think what I ended up doing is decided to put a little like pathway in front of the Stansport tube, just to, I don't know, make it look more inviting. I kept trying to remind myself that the goal of the architect of this was to encourage people to use it. So. And then I put a street sign and put some extra junk on it and stuff because, again, it's a sort of slight future other world scenario, so I don't want it to be too much like our world. I basically take everything, base it roughly on how it would be in our world, and then just change it a little bit, partially due to creative ideas I might have, partially due to gaps in my knowledge that are just allowed to be okay with things not being accurate since there's another world. And here I am refiddling with the perspective because that building which I had on a second vanishing point, I ended up changing back to the vanishing point that I used for the Stansport tube station, and it matched up a bit better. I don't know what I'm doing there. Oh, I was putting in some more background. Yeah, a lot of work for like 2 little lines. Like I ended up cutting off the rest of it, but I want those 2 lines to match up. And I ended up making this area, it was originally going to be some roads and like an intersection, but I made it more of a pedestrian intersection, like maybe the real road is behind the Stansport tube. And then right here I'm just making a little like stand where they sell, newspapers and coffee or the equivalent of that on this world near the train station, which you always seem to have. And I wanted to put a garbage can here, but I might have to muck around with that a little bit. It didn't look quite right when I was done with it. That black originally was going to be part of the ground, the square on the bottom there, and then I was thinking it was like the top of a low roof, or I'm going to have to revisit that. As I'm looking at it now, it doesn't quite make sense. I might just get rid of the black square and let the garbage can stand on its own. Anyway, put a little bit of shading here just to pop things out, make it a little clearer. There's Boots, roughly sized, how she wants to be. And you can't see, or maybe you can I'm looking in the preview and you can't see, but there's lines from her to the vanishing point, which I'm using to approximate the sizes of other pedestrians in the area. And once I get a few of them, then I could just base it on their size. And here's a guy leaving the tube. There's a girl coming up out of the tube to show also that it goes in and down and it's not just this shallow thing. And then I just start populating the city with other pedestrians and people around. And this is like sort of the city proper as opposed to the weird little alley she was in. There's an old woman with a walker. And originally this was going to be a regular road, and then I made it sort of pedestrian road, but I thought, well, what if there's these, like, I was going to draw bikes, but, like, what if they're kind of, like, sort of scootery, future bikes? I don't know what they are. I might get rid of them, but that's what I put in there. And then I adjusted Boots' size a little bit and put a little shadow, because she's coming into the light out of the shadow. Oh, the shadow of the alley, black market, no. But, and then on the panel, I'd already done a little shadow, and that was pretty much it, except I had to go back and double-check the balloons. Here I am double-checking the script, because I changed a few things. And I pretty much was okay with the placement as I had it, but I decided to go in and white out the areas that have the caption boxes and the speech balloons, just to make it a little bit clearer in my own head. So yeah, I'm highlighting all of them now, then boom, white, and this is what we got. So, yay, done.
Oh, it was a haunted video, and now you're cursed forever to watch process videos. That's not, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I wouldn't want it forced on me. No! I'm a butterfly. What is, I feel like this is from something. What is this? Is this something? Is this something? I don't know. Maybe this is like angels? I don't know. I don't know if it's a thing. It's a thing now. Here it is. Imagine if I just did this for like 20 more minutes, and you're like, what, is he still, and you're following, still, okay, I'm going to do that. No, I'm not. So that was my day. Tomorrow I'll start on day 6. Yeah, I guess that's about it. We're going to call it the end of this video, end of this day, day 59. Tomorrow going into day 60. Somebody, I want to say it was Johannes Vick maybe, link in the show notes, that said to someone else, like, once you hit day 50, it starts flying. And at the time I was on day like 30 or something, and I'm like, man, it's going pretty good now. But I don't know if it's just what's been going on in my life, that I'm distracted or that I'm, whatever, but it does seem like I just said, hey, we're at 50, and like tomorrow we'll be at 60. So just like life, as you get in those higher numbers, time seems to really start clicking. So, yeah, but regardless, today's day 59. And that means
there are 41 days left.